I have heard some very mixed things about this episode of Dragon Ball Super. Before I even sat down to watch it, I was already hearing many say, Chibi, this episode of Dragon Ball Super is complete doo-doo, do not watch it, it's shit. And I'm like, well, obviously I gotta watch it, it's Dragon Ball Super, but I was being told it was complete shit, so I'm like, oh shit, oh no, this is, oh. So I sat down and watched it just recently, a couple hours ago. And there's a very, very huge divide on this episode. Some are saying this is shit, some are saying it's okay, and then some are saying it was a good episode. And that's kind of the general consensus right now. But I'm mainly hearing many say this episode was shit. Now, I'm not going to say I think it's shit, just let me talk about the episode first. So, the episode is a Gohan and Videl episode. It's like a couple episode, and it focuses on the Great Saiyaman. And I think majority of the complaints come from the Great Saiyaman. I don't think many really like Saiyaman. I mean, many in the past, while watching Dragon Ball Z, I remember seeing complaints on forums and social media and stuff, many saying they do not like the Great Saiyaman. I remember seeing it constantly. And I feel like the main hatred that comes from this episode is probably because the main focus of the episode is the Great Saiyaman. It's Gohan dressing up as the Great Saiyaman and kind of being in a movie, being a stuntman. Even though he's the Great Saiyaman, you know, someone else is playing his role, but he's being the stuntman as Great Saiyaman. And I see why many might be upset with this. I mean, if you didn't like the Great Saiyaman in Dragon Ball Z, obviously you're not going to like it now. That's just common sense, which I feel like that's what the main hatred of this episode comes down to, thanks to that. Now, does that necessarily mean this episode was shit? I don't know. I mean, I never really had a big problem with the Great Saiyaman. I wasn't a fan of the Great Saiyaman, but I never disliked the Great Saiyaman. I mean, it was something that was very obvious that Akira Toriyama likes doing. Something that you see naturally in Dragon Ball. I mean, we even saw the Ginyu Force dancing around and doing poses in the earlier portions of Dragon Ball Z. So it's not something that was brand new. It's not something that just came out of nowhere. So Gohan being the Great Saiyaman, it's something that we've seen from other characters in the past, and I can see why many might be upset just because it's Gohan. Gohan being someone after beating Cell, such a badass, and, you know, dressing up as Great Saiyaman, it kind of looks like, what the hell are you doing? And I mean, Gohan doesn't have that good of a track record. We know how many feel about his character. I've even said my piece on Gohan as well. So, I see why many might not like the episode, but at the same time, I don't think that warrants it enough to be complete trash, a shit episode. However, I did enjoy the other aspects of this. Besides the Great Saiyaman, let's just throw that off the table for a second, okay? Let's just throw that aside. Let's just say that's complete shit, okay? Let's just go with a general consensus and say, fine, Great Saiyaman is shit. You cannot tell me that the interactions between Videl and Gohan were bad. Now, what I'm getting at is one of the big things I love about these type of episodes of Dragon Ball Z, and even Super is these slice-of-life episodes. And I've talked about this already with other episodes very similar to this in Dragon Ball Super. I appreciate episodes that slow it down and let us see characters outside their normal environment. We're not seeing characters constantly beating each other up, smashing each other's faces in. We're not seeing this big-ass villain coming in trying to kill everyone. It slows it down, and we see characters just spending time with their family. And I mean, Gohan now has become more of a family man and stuff, and seeing this interaction from him just spending time with Videl, Hercule, and also taking care of Pan, and also wanting to impress Pan in the future by being in a movie, it's just something I like to see. I mean, I know many might not like it. I mean, if you're used to Dragon Ball Z, you know, being all about action and stuff, you might not like the episode, but these slower episodes, I truly appreciate in any series. Even Dragon Ball Z or Super, I appreciate any type of show, anime series, TV show, that slows it down and puts characters in something else we're not normally used to let us see them from another light. I mean, I know we've seen Gohan in this light a lot, too, but I mean, we don't really get to see a lot of focus on him anymore, and I like how the episode focused on that, letting us see his perspective of how he goes about his day-to-day life. And I mean, it's one of those episodes that bring me back to my earlier stages of my childhood when I was watching Dragon Ball Z in the middle of the Buu saga, and you saw the Great Saiyaman saga, how he's, you know, hanging out with Videl and stuff, you know, he was trying to hide his identity. That's kind of what this episode reminded me of. It brought me back my childhood. It made me become nostalgic. And I mean, some might not like this episode because of that. They might not like it because it reminds them of that arc. But I truly do enjoy this episode. I don't think it's the best. I don't. I'm not saying this is a 10 out of 10 episode either. I'm not. It's definitely one of the middle or average or maybe even below average episodes. But it's still an enjoyable watch. I was still smiling. I was still having fun while watching it. And so, at the end of the day, that's what I truly appreciate. I like having entertainment from my series. And that's what it gave me. So, yeah, that's my overall viewpoint on the newest episode of Dragon Ball Super. But once again, though, if you dislike the episode, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you disliking something. Everybody has a different opinion on different things. So it's not like, you shouldn't hate it. I mean, if you don't like Saiyaman, you don't like Saiyaman. In discussion right there. But I personally enjoyed it. So yeah, you all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.